Hi guys, what you're about to see is the labor and delivery of chamomile, and I wanted to give a little bit of a prelude to it. The reason that I don't call a vet when my goats are giving birth is that in our area we don't have a goat vet that specializes in goats, and a lot of people want absolutely nothing to do with goats. And because they're smaller than a cow, a lot of times farm vets have a hard time working inside goats. I have very small hands. The first goat that I ever delivered, I was 13 years old, and the first one where I was the primary midwife, there was a very big baby with one arm forward and one arm back and a head forward. And it was very big. We could not get it out front way, just pulling it. And as a 13-year-old, I was able to get that other leg up and get the baby out. The mom and the baby survived. Now at the same time, we had just purchased on our farm when I was a kid a very expensive goat. She was a registered Alpine. She cost $350, and this was 22 years ago. She gave about 2 gallons of milk a day. And when they sold us this goat, they warned us, none of her babies ever survive. And so when it came time, and she had quadruplets when she had babies. So when it came time for her to deliver, I was very, very focused on this goat. I was watching. I didn't want to lose these babies. I was just paying so much attention to her, and I was so focused on saving those babies that I wasn't careful enough. And what happened was is she was acting like she was in labor, and when I went in to check her, I was too forceful and I tore her cervix. And I remember the feeling, and I cried and cried and cried when it happened. It was a horrible moment in my life, and I'll always remember it. However, I saved all 4 babies. She died, but I saved all the babies. And so that is the reason why birthing time is not my favorite time of the year. It is my most stressful time of the year because there are times when you have to choose between who is going to survive. Is the baby going to survive? Is the mom going to survive? You're doing your best to have them both survive, but sometimes you have to take a risk. I have a friend across the road that the goat had gone into labor. We thought she was in labor. She was new to their farm. A lot of times the stress of a move from one farm to another can put a goat into labor a little early. And I left just for a few minutes. We didn't want to interfere. We wanted to let her labor naturally, and so I didn't check her. And I had explained to my friend how to handle a labor and delivery. I was gone for 15 minutes. She called me back and said she saw a foot. She'd been trying to pull on it. I got there, and it turned out that she had been pulling on 2 legs from separate goats. And so neither one of them could be delivered, because one front leg from one goat and one front leg from another goat, you try and pull on that and nothing happens. And on that one, we lost the doeling. The little buckling survived. He was the second baby. He was a very big baby, but the first baby that should have been coming first was a little doeling, and she did not make it. And so in all the times, it's just, this is a time of year when I don't sleep much at night because I worry. I love my goats. I also want those babies to survive. They're one of the ways that I make income for my family. So this is kind of an emotional video. This is Chamomile's second kidding on our farm. Last year, she labored for days. She labored for days and days, and I just watched. I'm like, I will know when to interfere because I will see that her water will have broken or that she's laboring heavier. Most goats, when they start to push, they just have the baby. With Chamomile, she started to strain a lot, and she'd been straining for about 2 hours. Her contractions were extremely irregular. Sometimes they'd be 20 seconds apart, and sometimes they'd be 5 minutes apart, and then they'd be 15 minutes apart. And so extremely irregular labor. And with a goat, when they start to push, you know that they're in active labor, but if nothing happens, that's when you know there's something wrong. So last year I ended up going in and inspecting her, and she had a jumble of babies and this huge cavernous abdomen. Most goats, when you reach in, you feel kind of a conduit. With Chamomile, when you reach in, all you feel is this huge, enormous space, and you can actually feel her intestines. It's a horrible feeling. Just to worry that you're going to hurt your goat. Oh, it's horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. And I mean, you can probably see I have a hard time coming through it. So for the past week and a half, Chamomile's due date was 2 days ago, and Cloud kidded 2 days ago. And hers was fine. From the time that she started to act like she was in labor until the time that she had the babies was about 20 minutes. So Chamomile has been acting like she's been in labor for a really long time. But I haven't interfered because I could see her water hadn't broken. She didn't have any discharge of any kind. But then yesterday we saw some jelly-like fluid that was yellow, which can be a problem because if that's meconium, which is that the baby pooped in their water bag and they can inhale it and get sick. And so now I'm a little bit concerned, and she's getting up and she's pawing, and usually that's a really good sign that they're in active labor. And I have some other horror stories I just remembered. I had another goat that did this to me, but what she had was ring neck, which is where the cervix never fully dilates. She's in full labor pushing as hard as she can, and her cervix won't dilate. With that, I had a friend come over and help me, and we got both the babies out. They almost didn't make it. We brought them back to life. She'd just been in labor for so long. But we did resuscitate the babies. We were really scared we were going to tear her cervix, but we didn't on that one. And she survived and was fine. And it was still a really horrible experience. Okay, but back to Chamomile. For those of you who want goats and homesteading life, this will be valuable information, if nothing else, to prepare you for how emotional it is. Anyway, with Chamomile, I reached in there to look for babies this time around, and what I found was that the feet had gone upward towards the rectum rather than down and out through the vagina. And so she'd been pushing, and those hooves had been pushing and bulging out her bum area. She looked very puffy and she was straining, but nothing was happening. So the baby's hooves were mispositioned. So I got in there and just pulled the feet down and tried to reposition them, but then every time she tried to push, they would poke back up through her rectum. And she does not like contractions. What she'll do is she'll get up, she'll stand up, she'll walk around, and then to eat, she'll just get down and kneel down on her forelegs so that the baby shifts towards her lungs rather than being up at her cervix. So she was actually stopping her own labor by doing that. She didn't like it when her labor progressed. So the reason I'm telling you this is because of all the signs I was looking for to see that I needed to interfere. At what point did I know that I needed to do something? The point where I saw that her feet kept tipping up and that this baby is right there in her birth canal and she's not pushing. She keeps getting up and trying to move away from the contractions. And the problem is, the longer that she's in labor, the more distress can happen to the babies that are behind the first baby. So finally I was just like, oh, I've just got to check. Why is this not happening? I need to pull the baby into the birth canal so she can push it out. So when I reached in there to find, I did find a head, which I had originally noticed there was a head, but when I reached a little further in, what I saw that it was the wrong head. She had the head from two babies in her birth canal with those 2 feet. And the head that was in front was not the head that went with the feet. So she was trying to birth out 2 heads and 2 legs at the same time. So I had to push the one head, and you have to do this one-handed. You have to push the one head back and find the right head for the right baby and pull it forward. And once I had them situated and was just holding them still so they couldn't get sucked back in by her doing her kneeling on her front legs again so that it stopped her labor, and held it in the birth canal so that she could finish pushing it out. Once something like a contraction hit, she would lay down and she would push just fine. But she was having very ineffective contractions. Her whole inside, her whole uterus was very inefficient, very flaccid, very loose. It should not have been so loose. There was nothing pushing those babies forward. And then after the first baby, she did her knee thing again, where she went forward trying to get that baby off her cervix so that her contractions stopped. During the second baby, it was an enormous. With the first baby, when she finally birthed it out, it was stuck right up there on her vagina, and we couldn't get it any further out because it had an extremely short umbilical cord, very, very, very short, and so we just left it there so that we weren't doing any damage. And then she stood up and things were fine. With the second one, much bigger baby. We felt something pop, and I was horrified. It couldn't have been the cervix because she'd already delivered another baby. We couldn't figure out what the pop was, because when the pop happened, she just went, oh, and kind of fell on her side a little bit. We still don't know what it was. I'm watching her because of that. Letting her ineffectively deliver a little bit longer, to my opinion, wouldn't have made any difference, except that we could have lost the babies. Because it was like they were just floating in a big bag of jelly and nothing was happening. Nothing was getting lined up to come out. So that pop was terrifying, and I was worried, if we're going to lose her, we're going to lose her now. Because if it was something along the lines of her uterus, then she's going to bleed out, things are going to be bad, she won't be able to deliver her placenta. So I had a rough night waiting to see what would happen with that. And then with the third one, during her last kidding, she had one last baby stuck all the way down. Oh my gosh, I felt like I was digging to China. I was all the way up to my armpit inside of her trying to find that baby because I had felt the hooves, but the baby just kept sliding down. There was no chute. There was no movement to get that baby to come up towards the vagina. And so I spent a good 5 minutes trying to find that baby, and when I did, I couldn't get it to turn around and be head first, and that one I had to pull by the hind feet to get it out. And it was delivered just fine. It was smaller than the others, and everybody was born. Everybody did fine. She stood up and ate immediately, which is a really good sign. If they're chewing their cud and getting up and eating, then it means that they're feeling okay. Everybody got to nurse, and she was way more focused on the amniotic fluid than she was on the baby. So I think she has a mineral deficiency, because she's really... I tried to give her salt lick and everything. She didn't want it. She just wanted the amniotic fluid. She wanted the placenta. So I do think she's a little deficient in some kind of mineral. But since then, I've just been watching them. Again, what I could do for them in a birth is as good as a vet could do, in my opinion, just because I've been doing it for so long. But that's always the really hard decision. Do I intervene? Do I not intervene? In the times that I haven't intervened, those are the times when we lost babies. In the times when I have intervened, and I intervened too soon, or I intervened in the wrong way, we lose the mama. It's always so much nicer when you just come out and find beautiful, clean, new babies on the grass. So anyway, I thought I'd give you that caveat. It's reaching into a mama goat is not just cut and dried. It's grueling, gut-wrenching decision time. And anyway, here's her birth. Everything is fine, and we're just gonna watch her, and if she develops any kind of infection or anything, or starts to act like she has a fever, we will give her penicillin G, and that's the one that a lot of people use for goats. And we won't milk her for another week and a half at least. And we also, all the goats are for sale. It looks like the 2 doelings are already sold, but since I don't have money in hand, we don't know. The bucklings would be fantastic bucklings, because she is an amazing doe. So all of them are for sale. So any of you who are looking for registered alpines in this area, you're welcome to come by and see us. Just send me a message, and we will talk to you later. Okay, we finally got it sorted out. She was trying to have 2 babies at the same time. They were just stuck. They were just stuck. You can get this one by yourself. You're doing a good job.
Push, good.
Yeah, she had 2 heads and 1 set of legs for one baby, and they were pointing up towards her butt.
You got a head. You got movement.
Look. Let's let that extend a little bit. That one's back up. Okay, so we got a little boy.
Come on, Cammy, we got more.
He wants to stay a little closer. Okay, that umbilical cord was super short. What happened was these front feet were pushing up into her anus rather than out.
No, Mama.
It's okay. She's fine. She's fine. Her little umbilical cord isn't stuck yet. Okay, so her babies did not align properly. If you want to watch the camera, for a second I couldn't get her to lay down so that I could disorganize everybody. Just make sure you got 2 babies. 1 baby this time. Okay. So now she just has 1 baby trying to come through. So last time what happened is here's her bum up here, and it was pointed up into her bum. It wasn't coming out the vagina, and she had a head here and a head here, and this head was trying to creep in while this one was being born. And that's why she wasn't progressing, and that's what happened last time.
So she goes sideways.
Yeah, she was trying to have two heads and two legs at the same time, and we needed just one head. The wrong head was forward. This one's head wasn't forward, the other one's head was forward. But now the other one is properly positioned, just one baby.
You sure we have just one? Just only gonna have doubles
Well,
this
just
time?
in row.
Okay.
In line to be born, we just have one. So she may have actually been trying to have this baby for quite a while, and because of the way that the babies were trying to push through.
Okay, Cammy, you gotta push the next one. Come on.
It's okay. She was about 5 minutes between the two, I think. So she's got a little bit of time to lick this one off. But I'm kind of excited. He would be a nice buck to breed to Chamomile, or
Yes.
to Cloud.
Yeah, definitely.
When you, oh, see, now her next contraction is starting to come, and she's trying, it's like, okay, we gotta maybe lay down and push.
He's about standing.
And because the other baby is still inside of the birth sac, I'm not concerned about needing to pull him. He still has plenty of fluid around him. Last time, the third one was so far down inside of her that I almost didn't find him. And she didn't really push. She just kind of laid there and just...
Well, she was pushing by the time I got here.
Well, right, but I mean before I
like-
helped her. Before I helped her, she wasn't actually pushing. She was just kind of sitting there breathing softly and looking for babies. I wish she'd lay down though so the next one could come.
You don't have Instagram on here, do you?
I don't. I don't know if I do. I thought you put it on, but maybe you didn't.
Nope.
So it's not always a bad thing to intervene. I've had this happen once before. My favorite goat, my first goat that I had when I was growing up, she had that problem during her second pregnancy, that the hooves pointed up rather than out, and so it kept getting stuck on the space in between the rectum and the vagina, just on that little lip. And she pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, and nothing was happening. Nothing was happening. Her bum was bulging, but nothing was happening. She's been quasi-pushing for the last couple hours. So if I hadn't been able to tip those little feet down, she could have been in labor for a really long time and never actually had a baby. And part of the problem might have been because of the presentation, just that there was not enough pressure. Things were pointed the wrong way because we had two heads. It's always so hard to tell, and it's always so hard to decide when you intervene. It's always so hard to decide. And you can see she's not having any more contractions. She should be having some contractions by now for the next one. But the way that she goes down on her front knees means that all the babies and all the pressure go up into her belly and her lungs rather than being on her cervix. So she just doesn't have any drive to push. I'm waiting. If I don't see another contraction here pretty quick, I'll probably go in and help her get the next one out.
Oh, that was a contraction. Did you see her open up her mouth?
Well, sometimes that's called the Flayman's response, and it's a hormonal response. Bucks will do that if the doe's in heat, and the mamas will do it right after delivering a baby because all the hormones kick in and they're tasting all that amniotic fluid and it's all very hormonal for them. But she's been doing this for 2 weeks where she'll go down on her knees because she doesn't like the contractions and she wants them to stop. But it means there's no contact for the next baby. That's an awful lot of red. I wish there wasn't quite so much red there. There was not a fun divide in there.
Do you want me to hold her? Oh, that's a bag. And feet. Yeah, we got feet.
Lay on the baby. It's not right on the baby. That one's bigger. Just gonna take a little snack because we weren't really in the mood, chamomile.
Arm popping? Huh?
Could have been her hip.
Yeah, they're a hip or if there's a broken bone in the baby, but... You got on it?
I don't know if this one's still with us though. It's so far in there.
Come on, Mama. Other one up so she can get a lick on him. Okay. Come on, bud. Hi, buddy. Oh, yeah, let's come up with Third ones usually are, aren't they? There we go. Let's see.
Her hind feet, and I don't know if I can turn him around or not.
You just may have to go breech. Come on, baby. Wow, okay. 3 boys, huh? Why do you do that to us, Cammy? Well, at least we get our pick of the healthiest. She's the one that did that last time, right? Yeah. And it's like you and girls.
There's no way that pup was her cervix.
No.
So my thought is that it was a really short umbilical cord.
Snapped. That would be good.
The fact that she moved when it popped has me a little worried.
Right. Okay, forgive me everybody, we're gonna have to tilt camera.
Is the sun a problem?
Not yet. Go wash up.
No, I gotta take a full-on shower.
Right. That really is just stuff, isn't it? Actually, that's pretty about where you are.
What do you think, Cloud? Just to get Cloud's expression. What do you think, Mama? You did that yesterday too, didn't you?
Less pulling.
Hmm?
Less pulling, though. And less boys.
Yeah.
So that's 2 for Cloud. And there's her 2. And then a trio of boys.
Yeah, that's what she gave us last time was triplet boys.
3 boys. Well, sell as breeding stock, or do we snip and eat? Sell. I was gonna say they're high enough caliber bloodline, though. Should be. We've paid dearly for them. Time, effort, and money.